have an eyeshadow palette review today. It has been a while. It's from one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow brands, my favorite indie makeup brand, Odens. Just launched a new eyeshadow palette. I always get so excited when they launch a new eyeshadow palette because it always re-inspires me to have fun with makeup. Their formulas are really good, their prices are really good, their textures, finishes of their eyeshadows are amazing, and they just get me. When it comes to a color story, Odens throws down a color story that's colorful, but also within my comfort zone. And it's an extension of a collection from them that I already love. You guys have probably already seen it because a lot of other influencers has featured this collection because it did just launch. It's the new Solmane 2 palette. So we have some new cheek colors. Now a Solmane 2 palette already exists, but here's what they told me on the little card. We continue the theme elements of the first generation Solmane collection, and the original palette I did declutter. I've had it for years, it was pretty, but I think Odens since that palette has really improved every aspect of their brand, and they designed a new Solmane 2 collection inspired by the moon, the sun, the stars. It consists of dreamy and ethereal colors. Anyways, I was confused because it was the Solmane 2 palette, and I was like, wait a second. We already have one. So the new one is the Moon Wish palette, and then the original one is this one. So it's a little bit more darker in packaging. So let's look at everything here. Come here. So this is what the new Solmane 2 Moon Wish palette looks like. It is $32.90, and that is a fantastic price for all these colors and finishes. And then you can also use my discount code, which will save you some money. I feel like it looks kind of close to the first Solmane 2 palette, just like same colors, slightly different. Oh, this is difficult for me apparently. Here's the original one, Solmane 2, and here's the Moon Wish Solmane 2. I'm going to call this the Moon Wish palette for the rest of the video. So I'm going to do some side-by-side swatch comparisons between these two babies, and of course, I'm going to do two looks on the eyes. It's been a while since I popped some colorful eyeshadow on my eyes, so bear with me as I am a bit rusty. And then they also launched 3 new colors in 2 different formulations, so 6 altogether, of their blushes. So these blushes already exist, but we have 6 new gorgeous shades. So before we get it on the eyes, I do want to swatch the Moon Wish palette for ya. And by the way, you can get the whole bundle of 6 new cheek shades and the palette for $139.65. It's gonna save you about 25-ish bucks if you want to do it that way. And then each of the highlighters and the blushes. We'll get there when we get there. Let's break into this baby. So I'm gonna go like this in the pattern. So we have star, moon, crater, and meteor. Here's how they look on the finger. So we have a matte warm yellow. We build that up a little bit. So this is a sheer iridescent shade with a light platinum base. See a little bit of blue in there. A soft matte dusty pink. And then a shimmer gold with multicolored sparkles, resembling a shooting star. So that's what the first 4 look like. Have a fun pop of color here. This Universe shade was harder to pick up. It almost felt like maybe hard pan was there, but it looks stunning. Highly saturated matte deep blue. Didn't swatch the greatest, but these colors, super difficult. A shimmer eyeshadow, soft blue, subtle purple micro glitters, supposed to be reminiscent of moonlight. A matte camel yellow. They'll tell you in the shade names what these are supposed to resemble, having to do with the sun, the stars, whatever, whatever. And then we have a shimmer eyeshadow, light purple with multicolored glitters. This is, I think it needs to go on my eyes. The shift is gorgeous. Will I be predictable and do a purple look? Yes, I will be, because purples are hard. So sometimes that's just the best way to tell the quality of a palette. Matte grayish purple is the shade Dark Matter. Then Pluto here is a shimmer eyeshadow, lilac, various purple glitters. If my descriptions sound bad, it's Odens Eye's fault. I'm reading this off of their website. We have a matte lilac, a little bit deeper than Dark Matter. And then we have a shimmer shadow, gray tones, multicolored sparkles. That's gorgeous. Definitely very on the purpley side. And then we have our last three shades. I have to say, I feel like the mattes in here are swatching a little bit weak. We'll see when she's on the eyes, but look at that shade. Oh my gosh. So we have a matte orange brown, a bright shimmer sea blue. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is why I love Odens Eye. And then a matte violet here. So this is the palette. This is the beautiful Moon Wish palette. It doesn't look like there's any multi-chromes, but there's a couple of shifted shades, iridescent shades. I think some of the mattes look a little weak by swatch or patchy, but these are really difficult shades of mattes to formulate, and they could very well be fine on the eyes. The shimmers seem pretty consistent with the Odens Eye quality that I love. So we'll see in a moment. I also wanted to show you a color comparison. The top palette's the new Moonlight palette. The bottom palette is similar colors that I found from the original Solmane 2 palette. And definitely related color stories, but side by side, they're different. But kind of same color stories. I don't know, you can decide if it's worth it to you or not. I would say you definitely can get some similar looks between the two palettes, but I think that the new Solmane 2, call me crazy, I feel like it's more neutral because we have some pops of brown in here that the original Solmane 2 doesn't have. Anyways, that's how they compare to one another, in case you were curious. All right now, so for look number 1, purple. Gotta do purple, gotta do what sits close to home, what I'm comfortable with. Let's do it. So I prepped the eye with a little bit of concealer just to brighten everything, and then a little bit of Milani eye primer. I'm gonna start off with the shade Crater, which is a little bit pinky, but I want to keep this on the inner part of the eye. Remember, this is more so of a review than a tutorial. Disclaimer that this might not be my cutest look or my best work. I'm also rusty, but I want to test as many shades as I can today. So that's pretty nice and soft, buildable. There's a little bit of sparkle in that shade that is showing up on the skin a little bit, but it's pretty. And then I'm going to wipe the brush off, and I'm going into Dark Matter, which is this grayish lilac shade. I didn't shake it off, and it's giving good pigment. Okay, very, very good, because I was worried how some of these were swatching. So this one, it's in the clear, kind of over blending, but nothing terrible. Oh no, it's building up just fine. We're good here, people. Gonna carry it a little bit over. That's a really pretty shade. That would look stunning really just on its own. And then I want to make sure all of the purple shades here, they're going to look a little bit different from one another. So I'm taking the shade Planet, which is that little bit of a darker color. It has some vibrancy to it. So it's not that much darker than the shade Dark Matter, but it's really adding that vibrancy of she's wearing a purple in this look. And I'm just circling this on the crease. This is a little bit of a tighter blending brush, and I do see that I want to go back in more with some Dark Matter so that it'll show up a little bit better, but we're gonna hold off. I'm gonna continue to use this brush, and I'm going into Lunar Eclipse. I lied, I'm switching brushes. Even tighter, Rephr 13, Lunar Eclipse. Circling this right in the outer corner. Yeah, okay, all four of the shades that I've used look very different from one another on the eyelid. They each have their place in the palette. Not that I expected any different from Odens Eye, but this shade swatched a little funny, but look at, it's gorgeous. the way that it's applying with a ton of opacity, it's working out nice and easy from what I can tell. Now it is a smaller surface area, so don't put this all over your lid and it's patchy and yell at me. I didn't put it all over my lid, but in all 4 of the shades, they're doing their own thing. So I'm just reapplying a little bit of Planet here, and then I'm going into Dark Matter again because I think this shade is gorgeous and I really want it to show through and be an element of this look. Gorge! Okay, lid. We've got a lot to talk about here. So I'm gonna go based on what I was unsure of. So this Universe shade, gorgeous as she is, it almost feels like hard pan could happen. It's a really thin layer of product. So let me start off by pressing this on the lid. You'll see it's more sheer. I'll tell you, when it comes to Odens Eye, this isn't my favorite shadow from them, but you can build it up. You can get that pretty purple blue shift with this. It's fine. And then, do I want to do Pluto or Mercury? Let me decide here. Okay, I'm going to do some of Mercury, which is a little bit more grayish, and I'm putting it right next. Now this is a moment where I probably wouldn't layer all of these shimmers next to each other because they have so much glimmer that it's hard for each shade to stand out on its own. They'll kind of mush together because there's so much reflection. But for review purposes, this is why I'm doing that, so you can see the different shades next to each other. Really easy to apply. I do recommend with Odens Eye to use a finger. They're a little bit stickier, so you really want to push them on the eyelid, and that way you get less fallout, because if you use a brush, it's hard to push it onto the eyelid, and then you get more fallout. And then Pluto, we'll put right on the inner part of the eye. So on a brush, this would be flaky, but with a finger, buttery. I'm going to blend that over the center lid shade. Universe, it's more toppery. I mean, it has a base color to it, but it's so thin, it doesn't fit in compared to the thickness of the other 2 shades. So it looks a little bit weird that they're paired next to each other, but it's all a learning process. This is a new palette to me too. Eclipse, we're going back in with that matte shade. Kind of blending this here is gonna add a little bit of cohesion to the look. And then just kind of mush all the top shimmers together to create a more cohesive look. Let's play a little bit with the blues. Since our center lid has some blue, I think it would be really cohesive to bring some blue down below. I don't know if I want to use this beige shade because it's like really, really blue to the point where it'll be ill-fitting. I'm doing it. My hand said otherwise. And I'll mix in a little bit of purple down here. But this shade is always scary to me. It's swatched really patchy. But on this small capacity, on this small surface area, quite pigmented, not an issue. And then to make it look a little bit more cohesive, I'm going to use a couple of the purple shades over top, and it'll be like a purple blue look. Odens Eye, man, they really get me to play with some color, don't they? And then a little bit of Lunar Eclipse. Maybe a little bit more. I'm going to take a small brush and let's do Moonlight. Well, I do recommend a finger because this will have trouble sticking. I'm going to just try to press and be as careful as possible. God, I love this brush. How pretty is that? It's like little stars, how that sparkle is so beautiful and soft. Now this shade's really piecey. It's a little intimidating. It's going to be really messy. It's almost like not very pressed. Look, you can see the shimmers. I don't know if I want to do this, but I do. It's just like two little hunks of foil that I'm kind of trying to mush out. Luckily with a brush that's really small, you should be able to like mush it out a little bit. Not the typical way I'd use to describe how to apply makeup, but oh, when I get liner on you guys, don't talk to me. This look is gonna be choof. So since we played with the purples and blues on this eye, I really think you can get like kind of a neutral look, and that's the other color story here that I haven't messed around with. So let's try it. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna start off with Star, which is this yellowish shade, and I want to lightly dust it across the whole crease. Not reinventing the wheel here, just trying to do what I can to try the most, experience the most out of these colors. This is quite sheer. It is building up, and I think with a packer brush, shader brush, you can get some pigment here, but it is adding a really nice wash of yellow. This I just really want to be the background of the look, and I've like washed my brushes. In between, I have the same base. Let's try Dust, which is a key neutral color for me. Talk about a good neutral crease color for my skin tone. Okay, so just go back and forth, creating a C, and that completely neutralized it, but you can see how the yellow is popping out. And we can always go back and add more yellow. I didn't put any more yellow on my brush right now, but might do that after we build up this crease a little bit more. And then I need to see how Saturn does. There's a little bit of warmth in this chocolate brown shade. I don't know if it's ill-fitting per se, but it's warm. I wish it was a little bit more neutral, because then I feel like it would pair really well with the purples. Blending this in the outer corner and then seeing how we can stretch it out in the blendability of it. Really easy to use. I was a little bit worried. I told you the matte swatched questionable, but not so worried anymore. I'm going to go back in with Star, the yellow, and I'm going to utilize that as a tool to soften out the edges. It's been so long since I've talked through a good old eyeshadow tutorial. This is lovely. So fun. The shimmers. It's going to be pretty predictable what I'm going to do. We're going to take Meteor. This one is a little bit loose. Definitely want to use a finger with this and take your time pressing it in. Now, why I don't mind that you have to use a finger with Odens Eye, because you know, normally for a palette, I'd say it should be able to be used with fingers and a brush, is because the Odens Eye formula has this sparkle, glimmer, like a star effect, really separated from one another, but in a super dimensional way. And so the formula just makes sense in order to do that, so that you can use your finger to spread out the glitters from one another and get that really galactic, sparkly look. So I don't mind it. I feel like it really gives a textured look. So you can absolutely get a neutral look with this. Take away the yellow that I used in the outer corner, and you can get a gold look, like Natasha Denona Golden. Let's see how Moon looks. Actually, this one is a little bit more true to a shimmer. I'm going to use a flat shader brush, though you can see how the glimmers are separate here. That's why it's a difficult formula to use with a brush. It's just hard to pick up on the brush. But there we go. I got like a chunk of it, and so once you press it down, then you're kind of able to spread it out. But that is something to be warned with Odens Eye colors. You'll see how it's chunky, and then you have to really put some pressure to blend it out, and it can get messy. So that's just a user warning. I definitely picked up way too much with this brush because now it's chunky. I'm just going to kind of mix it out. But now I have a mess. But it is pretty. Yeah, I tried it with the finger. It wasn't having it. So I'm just trying to get the two to mush together. And then something else to be warned of the Odens Eye formula in general with more mature eyelids is sometimes that chunkiness of the shadow can emphasize more mature eyelids in an unflattering way. So it is really important to use your finger to not make sure you're clumping too much product on, because if you can get a thin layer of it, then you're fine. Anyways, in terms of this being a neutral look, this is very pretty. I just went into the darkest brown to work it out. I'm gonna take like a thin brush, a pointy brush, to get a little bit of the darkness over here. Not like a cut crease, but you see how I carried that dark color over? This brush is a prototype, so, but you can do this with a blending brush, a really small one from Rephr. Can kind of get that effect. Okay, cool. I'm not going to do this on camera, but I'm going to, no, don't listen to me. I'm going to do it. I'm taking Saturn, that dark brown shade, and I'm going to press it in the lash line. See if I want to use this as liner. I don't know if it's going to have enough depth to it because it's so warm, but I'm working it into the lash line. It's taking some building, but we definitely have that definition there. Lower lash line, I'm taking Star, which is that first yellow, and I'm going to pack it onto the lower lash. Going a little bit lower than I normally would. And I want to do a smoky brown lower lash. No rhyme or reason. Sometimes I'm just called to it. So Saturn, utilizing the shade Saturn a lot. And I put the yellow there because you can see how it's popping through. Do me a favor and imagine these eye looks with falsies. That would be amazing, but we're going natural today. But it's not very natural, I suppose. Anyways, I just really wanted you to be able to see the eyeshadow. Stunning. Nobody does glimmery, shimmery finishes like Odens eye. I mean, that's my favorite thing. You can't use a brush with their shimmers, but because of that, you get such sparkly eyes. Quickly, we're going to finish this off with the new cheek color. So there's 3 new Sunlight Love blushers. Let's see what we have. Whoa. I'll show you what I see in a second. So we have 2 matte shades. The first one being Pink Bloom. Not super powdery. I mean, it is a powder, but it's not loose. So that gives it more of a blurring effect on the cheek. Here's Lilac Mist, just so you can see the 2 next to each other in terms of how they're different. This is brighter. So that's Lilac Mist. And then this is what I was like, ooh, this is a shade Solar Eclipse. It has this split pan. I'm just going to mix the 2 together. This will give glow. Oh my gosh, how is that not a highlighter? This looks like it's going to be unflattering. Has to be. So I'm just going to do the purple side here. We're going to do Pink Bloom. Popping this on the apple. Nice and subtle, not too pigmented. And see, it gives kind of a blurred effect. Very pretty formula. Underrated. I forgot about these. And then we have Lilac Mist, which this one's a little bit more loosely packed. I think if you have a deeper complexion, this will be nice. But I'm trying to use a little bit, and you can see it pulls a little bit brighter on the cheek. It has more intensity to it. Tone that down a little bit. I don't know that I want to put this all over my cheek. I will for the review. Too glittery. I don't like this. It already just gave me specks of glitter. Truly glitter, would not use this. Not even as a blush topper. I'm gonna stop there because I don't know, can you see it? Look, glitter. Would be gorgeous on the eyes, honestly. This would be stunning on the eyes. On the cheek, it's a pass for me. I'm just gonna pop this on the other cheek. Did I tell you those were $20.90? I might have, but if I didn't, there you go. And I wanted to mention that because the highlighters in the collection are a little bit more. These are the Moonlight Feel highlighters. They're $2 more, $22.90. Again, 3 new shades. I think one I'm not going to keep. So I'm not going to keep the shade Light Glory, so I'm not going to swatch it. It's just not a color I'm going to use. It's too deep for my complexion. I will, however, be trying Star Legend, which is a duochrome, and then Moon Tears, which is this purple blue shift situation. They have the same glitter in that cheek color where I feel like they might be too glittery, but it's gonna work well for a really glimmery, shimmery look. These could also be really pretty lid toppers. So let's see how Moon Tears looks. These are pure glitter. Be careful with that. If you want a glow, don't go with these. A glitter, like I think like rave concert kind of situation. Pretty as a lid topper too. Just to add that little extra element of sparkle. The highlighters to me, not my cup of tea. But there's a time and a place for sure. Let's put on, for the fun of it, Star Legend, which is like this pinky gold shift. Glittery, baby. Again, would look pretty on the eyelid, but not for me. And that is everything I wanted to share with you about the new Odens Eye Solmane 2 collection. I love the looks. It's been so long since I've done colorful eyeshadow. I just keep staring. Again, nothing like Odens Eye to get me back into eyeshadow. Overall, the cheek products, meh. Especially, like, the blushes are fine, the matte ones, but everything else, a little too glittery on the face for me. But the palette, solid, consistent, gorgeous with all of the other Odens Eye palettes here. So it's nothing new here. If you are familiar with the Odens Eye formula, you're going to get that formula if you're a fan of it. A beautiful color story here. I mean, nothing super unique for Odens Eye color story-wise, but it's always fun to spin around some shades and then just have a little bit of new inspo to look at. So love this palette. No surprise. I mean, it's going to rank highly in my next monthly palette rankings. I can tell you that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review and found it helpful. I'll have everything linked down below and the discount code for you to use. It is available right now. What do you think of this collection? Comment down below and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys. Have a good one.